Hi, and welcome to Let's Bake and Cook Stuff. Today, I'm making chili. I don't know if you can see all the ingredients I have here. I know it's going to seem weird that I'm making chili out of these things. There's no meat here, right? You know what that means? Vegetarian chili. But you won't know if I didn't tell you, and in fact, I've served this to people, and they did not know that it was vegetarian. So it's really the spices that make the chili. You don't have to have meat, but if you have to have meat, obviously you can certainly put meat in with this. This is a good way to get kids to eat their vegetables. So what I've got here is a half a head of broccoli and a half a head of cauliflower. And I've done it with whole heads before. This does make a lot of chili. And I'm going to put it in the food processor. Once it's ground up and it's cooked with all the spices and the tomatoes and stuff, it looks like the ground beef of the chili. Just stick with me, stick this in the food processor. You could, if you were making a big bunch of it, like for a chili cook-off or something, you could use the whole heads of whole heads of cabbage and the whole head of cauliflower. I said cabbage and cauliflower. It's broccoli and cauliflower. I'm going to grind up the broccoli and cauliflower. It's a half a head of cauliflower and a half a head of one bunch of broccoli, and I'm going to grind it in the food processor. And it turns almost like it's going to be like your ground beef. Okay, wait, just stick with me. Okay. Now, take a look at this. It's all ground up. Now, see, once this cooks and gets the spices in there, it's going to look like ground beef. I'm just saying. It's really good. It's got everything in good for you. It's got vegetables and beans. Just a tiny bit of vegetable oil in here. Just to get these going. I'm going to cut up this bell pepper real quick too. I actually grew this in my garden. I didn't even know it was there. Till a couple days ago, I noticed the plant was leaning over. You know, it's getting into season, right? And it was leaning over, and I tried to pick it up, and here was this big giant red bell pepper. We have seriously gotten like 5 bell peppers from that plant this year. So you can put any vegetables in here. You can shred up some carrots. I'm putting the broccoli and the cauliflower. We're going to have this bell pepper and onions and some chili peppers, of course, some hot chili peppers. So, you know, that's all in there. But you can grate up some carrots. You can shred some zucchini in there. Chop up some mushrooms and toss it in here for a nice meaty flavor. There's really just so many ways you can go. Now I cut these onions, and they're pretty good chunks. I normally, when I cut up onions, I like them to be kind of small, but these are pretty good chunks. I'm going to make it like a little bit chunkier chili. And that's, again, the beauty of cooking for yourself. You can make it how you want. If you want a chunky chili, you make a chunky chili. If you want little tiny pieces of stuff in there. Now we're putting in our broccoli and cauliflower mixture here. Really, this is a really great chili. It tastes just as good as any other chili. Again, it's the spices that make the chili the chili. So we're going to be putting in the regular spices that you put into chili. You know, chili powder and cumin, coriander. And this is something that you can also do in the crock pot. Just toss everything right into the crock pot if you want. Instead of doing it like this. That was our bell pepper. This is some, I did about 5 chili peppers here. This is Serrano chilies. These are from our garden. We're still getting tons of chilies in our garden. But I normally use jalapenos in my chili. Let these go about 5 minutes, and then we'll come back, and then we're going to add the other stuff that makes this into chili. And I think you're going to be surprised. I hope you try it, because I'm not kidding. It tastes just like chili. You won't miss the meat. But again, if you had to have meat in there, you would be doing the meat right now. Okay. Okay, our veggies have been cooking for about 5 minutes. They're all nice and softened. Let's see here. Okay, now we're going to add our spices. I've got a quarter of a cup or 4 tablespoons of chili powder, about 2 teaspoons of ground cumin, about 2 teaspoons of ground coriander, about a teaspoon of smoked paprika, and a tablespoon of seasoning salt. Now, doesn't that look like ground beef, right? Okay, so just stick with me. I've got a can of black beans, 1 can of light red kidney beans, and 1 can of regular kidney beans. That's 4 cans of beans. Now, you can make those beans any kind of beans you want. Okay, 1 can of diced tomatoes. If you only use fresh tomatoes, just chop up a couple cups of fresh tomatoes and toss those in there. Tell me, that doesn't look like ground beef, right? It looks like ground beef. It's gonna trick you. It's gonna trick your mind. For people who are trying to cut back on meat, I'm not saying everybody has to turn into a vegetarian. I'm putting in about 2 cups of vegetable broth here. Again, my husband, he eats meat, and so on Meatless Monday, he indulges me. I would enter this chili in any chili cook-off with meat eaters. Turn this down to medium. It's really boiling good. So, all right, in go the beans. This is so good. All right, add a little more vegetable broth. And again, you can dump all this right into your slow cooker. And I would say it could go 6 to 8 hours, and you would have chili. You don't have to do anything to it. Just dump everything in. And I have done that. You don't want to let that. I did for a potluck at work one time. I said, well, it'd be easier if I do it at night. So I did it at night. I didn't have room in my fridge, so I went ahead and put it in the crock pot. And it cooked overnight, and it really did get too soggy. So you don't want to cook it. It was overnight and then until about noon for lunch, right? So it was probably like, I don't know, 15, 20 hours in the crock pot. So it was too long. But 6, 8 hours would be good. Okay, we're gonna let this simmer about half an hour. And then we'll be back to taste it, see if the seasonings are good, if we need to add anything. And we'll be back just a couple seconds. Take a look at this chili. It looks like regular chili, right? The only thing missing is meat. Okay, we're at about the halfway mark there, and you can see where most of that green has gone away. You can still see little flecks of green in there, but for the most part, it just looks like chili. Okay, I took a little taste, and there's hardly any heat from all those chili peppers. That was probably 5 or 6 of those chili peppers. I'm going to put this is a half of a teaspoon. I'm going to put a little less than this of cayenne pepper. Give it a little heat. And that's up to you. You know, if you don't like it hot, then you wouldn't do that. But cayenne pepper is very strong, so go easy on it at first, and then, add a little more if you think you need more, okay? Because you will not be able to remove it once you've entered it in there, so. I decided to go ahead and add a little bit of salt and pepper as well. And this is to taste, but I would say that was about a half a teaspoon and about a half a teaspoon of pepper, okay? Just adding those in there, just letting you know that I'm adding that in there. This is not done yet. It needs to cook for about a half an hour. Let's check for seasoning. Oh. Way better. And that little less than a half a teaspoon of the cayenne was plenty for me, but you do you. And then we'll see you in a couple minutes when this has been boiling, been simmering for about a half an hour. Okay, we have arrived, or the chili has arrived. This is really good, you guys. I already just sampled it. Super good. Look at this. It looks just like chili. Well, it is chili. It's just meatless chili. You could top this with some sour cream, top this with some shredded cheese. Put your favorite crackers on here. My husband likes those oyster crackers on his. Of cornbread, actually stick around because I'm going to be making cornbread next. And I don't think anything goes better with chili than cornbread, except maybe tortilla chips. Get one of those red bell peppers in there. So good. I'm not kidding. It tastes like chili. It is chili. It's got chili powder in it. It's got chilies in it. It's got beans in it. It's got cauliflower, broccoli, onions. It's delicious. It tastes like chili. It's perfect for Meatless Monday. It's perfect for the fall and winter. It's one of the it's something I've been making. I've been making this for over 10 years, and it just keeps getting better and better every time I make it. I hope you try this. I hope you enjoy it. I hope you give me a thumbs up. Hope you subscribe. Thanks for sticking around. For those of you who decided to stick around and see about some cornbread, I'm actually going to make these into muffins. It's the same recipe whether you make it into muffins or if you make it into cornbread. So feel free to do either. I just like muffins. They're easy to serve. They take less time to bake as well. But other than that, it's the same exact ingredients, so they're going to taste exactly the same. What I'm doing right now is I'm chopping up a little bit. I had a tiny bit of red bell pepper in my fridge from a couple of days ago, and I said, you know what? I'm just going to chop that up and put it in there. And this chili pepper, this is a serrano chili, as I tell you, from our garden. And I'm putting that in there, not as much for flavor as for, I just like the green flecks in there. I think it looks pretty. So, but, you know, optional. Don't put it in there if you don't want it, if you don't have it. All right, everything else is ready to go. So we have 1 cup of all-purpose flour and 1 cup of yellow cornmeal. Use white cornmeal if you like that better. Tablespoon of baking powder and a half a teaspoon of salt, and a 1/4 cup of sugar, just regular granulated sugar. Whisk this up. Okay. Now I'm going to add the corn and these other veggies that I'm putting in here. If you wanted to put in some chopped garlic or tiny diced onion, that would be good in here. You know, I'm always adding veggies to everything. So now we're going to stir this up, and we're doing it like that so that it coats these veggies, and then they won't sink to the bottom so easily. So now we have 1 cup of milk. This is just regular milk. 1/3 cup of vegetable oil, 1 egg. Okay, now we're gonna whisk this up. Got all those, the corn and the chili pepper and the red bell pepper in there. And I just like this recipe because I hate it when I don't have self-rising flour and I want cornbread and the recipe calls for self-rising flour. I always have all-purpose flour. So that's why I made this recipe, so that we could use all-purpose flour. And I have this square tin. Let me show you what I did. These are square. You can put them in the round ones. But I'm using the round cupcake liners. They go right in there. Look at that. So when I first bought this, my husband was like, now do you have to buy, you know, specific liners? I was like, no. Just gonna put the round ones in there. Okay. Okay, these are gonna go in a preheated 425-degree oven for about 14-15 minutes, and then we'll see you back here then. That was 14 minutes exactly. They're perfect. Look at, you can see the green and the red from the pepper and the pepper. Oh, these are gonna be so good, you guys. I wouldn't try them right now. They just came out of a 425-degree oven, so they're pretty hot. Now, just so you don't get alarmed, once they cool off, they will not stick so much to the paper. These are very, very hot and they're still sticking. Just like if you're baking cookies and they stick to the cookie sheet. So just so you know, they won't do that once they cool off. Just, you know, 5-10 minutes. Still steaming. Now these, of course, would be good crumbled up inside that chili we just made. These would be good with some butter on them, some honey butter, some chipotle butter, any kind of butter. That is good. You just get a little tiny bit of that pepper, the chili pepper in there. Doesn't make it hot at all. It's just giving you a little bit of flavor. Really, really good. Thanks for sticking around for this second recipe. I appreciate you guys. You take care now. And just for sticking around, you guys get a special surprise that other people who left don't get. This is Howard. Look at him. He can't take his eyes off of that corn muffin. You get too much people food. You know that, right, Howard? You want to try? Let's make sure it's not too hot. You want to try corn muffin? He likes it. Bye. Thanks for watching.